Hi everyone, welcome to Tom's Dojo. I'm your host, Tom Carroll. Today I'm bringing you an episode I never would have thought possible a couple of years ago. Yep, gluten-free pizza that actually tastes delicious and smells good. The geniuses at Caputo flour have devised a formulation of gluten-free flour components that are absolutely delicious. They'll produce a good pizza. This wasn't available a couple of years ago to us when Ben and I wrote our pizza book, so we decided not even to address the topic. But here it is. It's on the market. Now, just because you have the right flour that can produce a good pizza doesn't mean you'll be able to, and that's what I hope to bring to you today. That's the value add. We're going to learn how to shape a pizza because this is kind of unusual dough. So we'll be working with it in a different way. We'll learn how to top that pizza, some tricks for baking the pizza, and a surprise for finishing it so it'll taste really great. This pizza will take you about a day to make, 8 to 12 hours. You have to make the dough and it has to sit there. And then you have to order the flour. So it takes a little bit of advanced planning, but it's absolutely worth it if you're gluten-free, and it's not that expensive as well. There are some special tools that you're going to need in order to make pizza, or at least to make it the job a lot easier. An absolute essential for this kind of pizza, this gluten-free pizza, which happens to be very sticky, this dough's quite unusual, is parchment paper. And you can get this at any grocery store. And this is used for building the pizza on top of, and then also for baking in the oven. So it doesn't stick to the counter, and you can easily transport it from the counter to the oven. The other thing you're going to need is a dough scraper or a bench scraper. This is a piece of plastic. The curved edge is for cleaning out pots, and the straight edge is for scraping off the counter and for handling dough. This is a lifesaver. It's like a hand extension to a baker or somebody working with very wet flours. You should be able to find this at a supply store, baking supply store, or possibly the grocery market, or you order it online. They're only about $1 or $2. They're very inexpensive and an essential. So try to get one of these if you can. Then this is going to make your life a lot easier. Instead of having to construct your pizza on the counter and then scoop it up with a pizza peel and load it into your oven, which is fraught with danger and can't be done with this super sticky dough unless you load up your counter with gluten-free flour and slide it on there. I would suggest getting a pizza screen. And again, these are fairly easy to come by. You can get them at Walmart now, and they're about $5. This is a 15-inch screen, but you only need about a 12-inch screen. So those are the tools that you're going to need. I like to prepare pizzas like this the night before. So you would make the sauce the night before, and you'd make the dough the night before, and then the next day sometime you would prepare the pizza, and it takes about 10 minutes per pizza. Ready? Let's make some pizza. Day 1. Make a flavorful sauce. My favorite and the best value in my area are Naples crushed tomatoes. Season sauce with 1 teaspoon of dried basil, 1/2 teaspoon dried oregano, 1/2 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 1/2 teaspoon of fine sea salt. Combine. Add 1 tablespoon extra virgin olive oil and 1/2 teaspoon honey or sweetener if you need it. Not all tomatoes need sweetening. Taste them first. Finally, add 4 leaves of fresh torn basil. Cover and put in the refrigerator overnight so the flavors have a chance to combine. Freeze if you don't use it within 2 days. Day 1, make dough. Because this dough's so sticky, I used a stand mixer, but it's not necessary. You can use a spatula and a bowl. Add the room temperature water to your mixing bowl first. Add a teaspoon of active dry yeast to your water. Then gradually add half of the bag of flour to the mix as you mix on low speed. Half a bag makes 3 8 to 10 inch pizzas. Stop your mixer and sprinkle 2 teaspoons of fine sea salt over your dough. We're making half a recipe, so we're using half of the bag. Finally, add 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil. Mix everything until combined and smooth. This dough is very sticky, so you'll need a plastic dough scraper and lots of olive oil. The gloves, on the other hand, were a fail. I'd recommend just using your bare hands and lots of olive oil. In this section, I use a scale to weigh out the dough balls. You don't need it. You can do this by eyeballing the dough. Just divide it into 3 even pieces. This recipe makes 3 individual pizzas that are 8 to 10 inches each. The dough balls are 300 grams a piece. This isn't like regular gluten-filled dough. You don't have to carefully shape your dough balls, just make them roundish by any means. Using plastic wrap, wrap your dough balls as you would a piece of saltwater taffy. Any pizza dough balls can be wrapped like this and frozen. I froze one of these dough balls, the gluten-free type, for several weeks, thawed it in the fridge overnight, and I couldn't tell the difference in flavor or texture from the fresh ones. An hour before you're ready to bake your pizza, preheat your oven to 550 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove your tomato sauce and dough balls from the refrigerator. During this time, you can prepare the toppings you plan to add to your pizza. After 12 hours, you can see that the yeast has been active and the dough balls have risen in their package. Here's my trimmed parchment paper, which I will use to push out my dough ball and transport it to the oven. This dough is really sticky. Use plenty of olive oil on your hands and push the dough out with your fingertips and flatten it with your palm. A small pastry roller would work really well for this job. Brush some extra virgin olive oil on the edge of your crust. This will help to brown the outer crust. Otherwise, it looks strangely white. Top your pizza. We're going to be adding layers of flavor and texture to your pizza. Using a small ladle or spoon, add about 1/3 a cup of raw pizza sauce to the top of your pizza. The biggest tip I have for you is to sauce lightly. Next, let's add a light layer of freshly grated Parmesan cheese for a little extra flavor. If you want more tang, add Romano as well. And then we'll add a couple cloves of minced garlic to brighten things up. The mozzarella comes next. I use some packaged whole milk mozzarella, which I get at the grocery store, which comes in a small plastic wrapped rectangle, and some fresh mozzarella. That's the whiter cheese. A little bit of cheese goes a long way. Make sure you can still see plenty of sauce showing through the cheese. Too much cheese or very wet toppings will make your pizza soggy. I like to add jalapeno peppers to my pizza. They're very flavorful and quite mild as long as you remove the seeds. Black olives add a briny, earthy element to the toppings. Shore up your cornicione, that's the outer crust of your pizza, so that your toppings don't leak out. Now it's time to transfer your pizza to the oven. I find a pizza screen is really a great pizza baking tool. If you don't have one, make sure you have a pizza stone, a cookie sheet, or cast iron pan preheating in the oven. You can transfer your pizza to the oven using a spatula to support the pizza on the parchment paper. The pizza and parchment paper go on the pizza screen and bake on the middle rack of your oven at 550 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, remove the parchment paper from beneath the pizza, throw it away, and continue baking the pizza directly on the pizza screen for 3 minutes. Turn on your broiler and broil the pizza for 1 to 2 minutes more. Watch your cheese to make sure it doesn't burn. If it does look like it's going to burn, or it's starting to get really too brown, move it down lower in the oven or turn the broiler off. This pizza took about 10 minutes to bake. After letting the pizza cool for a few minutes, it's time to cut it. I then add the aromatic fresh basil and the wet fresh tomatoes. Adding these toppings after slicing allows you to make sure that each slice has the right amount of topping, the right proportion. Notice how brown this crust got. If we hadn't baked it at a high temperature or hadn't added the olive oil, the crust would have looked white like alabaster. A really neat touch when you top with fresh veggies is to finish the pizza with a light sprinkling of handmade Maldon sea salt flakes. These add a delightful saltiness and a little crunchiness to the pizza, and they help to season those vegetables and make the flavors pop.
Now you have the knowledge to make some of the best gluten-free pizza at home that you can get anywhere. And you'll be proud to serve this to your family, your friends and loved ones. I know this was a rather dense episode. Lots of material in here that I couldn't cover, didn't have time for, and you probably have some questions, so please subscribe, give this video a thumbs up if you found it valuable, and please comment or ask your questions and I'll get back to you in the comments. In the video description below, you'll find a detailed written recipe and then a series of links that are useful for this show. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week in the dojo. Buon appetito!